speaking of post-apocalyptic, we can also talk about the Matrices trilogy, which the peak of human civilization was in 1998 when Matrix 1 came out, and then nothing good has come ever since. I said it. I said it. And so
I don't
now,
know. I like the trilogy. It's fine. Do we need them? No. Does it need to be a trilogy? No.
but
Is it
we're
kind
gonna
of
get
fun
one.
to
We're
watch
gonna get a
Neo do
fifth.
Neo things? Like,
We got
yeah, that's
Matrix
fine.
1 and then Matrix 2 Reloaded, Matrix 3 the reloading, Matrix 4 look who's at it again, the new batch. And then we got apparently a Matrix 5 coming out, like Matrix V. What
How are you
what
saying this?
I
Stop.
mean,
Like,
I didn't see I didn't even see the fourth one. I didn't even bother get. I mean, it was on that pile that I just never got to. But then I have not heard any reason to watch it. So I'm like, okay. But I'm like, what are the Wachowski sisters doing right now? Like, I mean, do we need? Is the fifth one going to be like, hey, y'all? Fifth one's really gonna bring up that series right back up. We're gonna wrap it up and everything. Like, what?
I
I'm
don't know
not
if
the
you
Matrix.
can wrap it up. You know what I mean? I think it's the same thing that they've
Yeah.
done with John Wick. They're not gonna wrap it up. Like, it's just not what they're doing. You know what I
Well,
mean?
they
That's
wrapped up John
okay.
Wick for sure, but I mean,
No, but they're like
I'm not
they're
gonna say
always
I'm the
gonna
biggest
these
Matrix
are
fan
Right.
great.
either. But Sarah, Andrea, are y'all bigger Matrices?
I'm literally in tears at what you're saying right now.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I really feel like okay, like I like the Matrix. I'm not a huge fan of the Matrix, but I like the Matrix. I like the stories, and I like where it went. And I really feel like the Matrix has that potential to be like a kind of like a the Planet of the Apes. Like you could do different standalone movies within the Matrix. Like if you find a
Hmm.
writer that's good enough to be like, okay, well, when we were doing it with Neo, Neo was the sixth, the one, and they realized that by the humans had burnt the sky 600 years ago as opposed to 100 years ago. So, okay, that's that. All right, that's over. Now we have new stars because God only knows if Keanu is going to come back and do it again. And if he does, wow. And if Lawrence Fishburne comes back, wow. Okay.
If they don't, then they don't have the Matrix. Let's be honest. I
Well,
mean,
no, no, no.
Yeah.
They could have a new Matrix. This is what I'm saying.
the
If
new
you
Matrix is.
if you find the right cast, if you say, okay, you know what, none of our old stars are coming back, we have to start over from a completely different matrix, a different new thing, but still paying homage to that story and those actors that got us to this place. But now we have this writers with this potentially brand new ensemble cast. Like the Matrix can continue into God only knows what forever
Uh-huh.
because there could be different revolutions of it. There's different evolutions of it. Like we're talking about quantum computing, and we're talking about multiple planets and parallel universes. Like it, if you find a strong enough writing team, it could definitely be one of those things where we're like, okay, well, that was the Matrix there. This is the Matrix quantum Matrix, whatever. It doesn't matter, but like it has the potential to do that, and this is why we need a Matrix 5. Now, if they happen to continue the old stuff,
Hmm.
well, then I really hope it's good.
Well,
I
it's
really,
good.
really
It's the
hope
same thing. I would
because
say.
you have at that point you have a high standard to live up to. But the fact is, right now, nobody knows what the story is going to be. So,
Well, and it's also you can put it to the thing of same thing with Planet of the Apes, same thing with the Terminator franchise. Sure, you can bring back original cast, but do you have the story to bring it back with? Like I thought y'all wrapped it up in the heyday of those, you know? Or it's like, okay, if you are going to come back with like a new like a new cast, whatever, that's cool. Give me a reason to go watch it. Is this like happening? Like, okay, sure, it happens 300 years later. Sure, what's happening in 300 years? Has things gotten better? Looks a lot like the same. Like what's humans and robots? How are they going to do it? Now, if they did again, like I always say, the Matrix day one, like if they did that shit, like that, like like what was like like Terminator, the Judgment Day, like when the robots rose up and took off, whatever, like they did what was it the Matrix anime series They did like it was like a short story, a bunch of short stories of Matrix. That was great. That was a lot of
Yeah,
fun, and
that's
it talked about
fantastic.
like those days of the Animatrix. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I'm getting screamed at by producers who are huge fans of Animatrix. Yes, there's Animatrix. Thank you. And it was, but like, but that kind of tells you the day one. You know, like as the like robots are starting to rise up, and then they were refused by humans, and then they're like, fine, we're gonna do our own thing, and then they started
Rejectment.
rising up. Yeah, yeah, that's a story. That's a fucking movie I want to watch. Like, I'll watch the hell out of that movie. But if we're like Matrix 200 years from now, like, well, it looks like the original cast didn't do it, so okay, what's gonna happen now in 200 years? New cast comes out, new generation 8 comes out, or whatever. Like, okay, well, what are they gonna do now? So it's like it can be a new cast, sure, but it's also going to have a good story of like validated, not just like, oh, here's another filler episode. Come and watch it, y'all, because it says Matrix on the cover of it. I'm like, it's got to justify it. Like, it's got to pop. Give me a reason why.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right there. But the thing is, we're still watching Aliens. Okay, we're still they're now Aliens. Romulus is about to come out. Alien came out. It was Alien, then Aliens, or Aliens, and then Alien, whatever order that came in. But now we're watching Romulus, and it is the same type of deal here, where it could be a really good story using the same premise as the original story in a completely different pocket of the plot, or a different plot in that same realm or in that same world. It has potential to do that. If you find somebody that's creative enough, who's taken enough shrooms, you will get there. Okay,
with enough shrooms, anything is
Andrea
possible.
teaches you writing. Shrooms and
Okay, so which again, I will say any movie is watchable under the right conditions. Mushrooms can be a very big help on that. Okay.
it's possible. I'm excited to see what they could do with this. I mean, I don't ever want to tell an artist no, not to do a thing, because we've already seen it before. We had 5, or the last one that you guys didn't turn out so well, and it did low box office numbers. Like, let artists be artists. And
that's a loose term anyways, but yeah.
And before this becomes into a studio's business, it's art.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this debate forever, Andrea. I mean, like, it's still a business. That's the whole idea of a franchise. A franchise generates money based off the original idea. That's why you do a part 2, a sequel of a franchise.
Well,
But
that's the
it's
thing,
art.
because the fans are always going to go see it if they're a fan
it's
of the
art that makes
franchise.
money. Exactly.
However, it's whenever you get the feedback from those fans who are going to see it anyways, as when they come back and they're like, yeah, you're not going to like this. Then I'm like, okay, then I know I didn't waste my time, like I did with Matrix for the Annihilation. I don't know what it was. But then like, if somebody did go see it and they're like, oh, it is pretty good, then the second wave of people to go see it in theaters is the people saying like, oh, okay, well, I heard it got good reviews, let me go check it out then. Like, that's the second wave. But if you don't make it past that first wave, then then what was the goal?
But listen, that's the point. The Matrix has a solid fan base.
Yeah.
Solid fan base. Like, they could adapt that into video games, comic books, whatever they want to do. It has the fan base enough to do that. So it also has the fan base to withstand a 5th movie and to watch it and let the rest of us know, who may not be as diehard fans of the Matrix series as they are, whether we should watch it or not.
Yeah.
And it could be the Terminator. It could be an Alien. It could be a Planet of the Apes. It could be
it could be a Gladiator too. We just don't know, you know?
It has the potential. And yes, Sarah, I understand. It's business. It's all business. Show me the money. Okay. I get it. But it's also, there's a part of it, and this was a part in the industry that we should never lose, is that we shouldn't lose like the honesty of the art. We don't do this just because we like money. There's a lot of times there are people are doing things and they're not making as much as they should, or if they're making anything at all, and they're doing
and
it.
That's us actors, basically. Yeah.
I don't know about that. Actors just renegotiate a whole contract where they're making a whole bunch of money. I don't think that's a fair thing to say.
Big actors. Yeah.
But no, I've met some writer directors that will have something to say about that. But that's the point. I mean, there's just sometimes you just got to do it for doing its sake, you know? And this might be one of those things, just for the love of it. Like, Let's
Because
go.
it's stories.
I don't-
It's
I mean, like, I don't know
stories. We're
about that.
storytellers, and that's what it's all about. It's you have to tell a good story.
Absolutely. And I agree with you on that. I don't know that I think that if a good story is coming from a major network, it's because it's been like highly developed for a long time because of that franchise, because of what kind of money that franchise is going to make. I think the good stories that we see in a lot of cinema now are coming from the indie circles. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that's like got big budget, that's got over 20 mil, you know, it's
It's
coming
good
from a
stories.
studio. You know,
Yeah.
it's good. It's well constructed, budgetarily smart, fan based stories that will garner, you know what I mean, box office dollars.
I gotta
Basically.
believe in the filmmakers that are out there that there's someone, even with box office dollars, even with those strict limitations on them, even though they've got a big bad studio trailing their every move, being like, you got to do this by then, it's still there's still some love for it.
Oh,
And
I'm not saying that people don't like their jobs. I'm not saying that people aren't artists. I'm not saying that like we're not making a movie. We're still making a movie. We're still making artistic and creative choices. We're still showing up and doing our jobs every day. I just think that there's something very different between like going out and doing it, as you say, and like working for free or working for like extra tip rate on like a movie that may or may not do well on festival circuit and get picked up versus like being handed $20 million to go make a movie where your crew is on for like a set amount of days and everybody's making above $300 a day. I just think that those
Oof.
are very different things when
Those are
you're
good
talking
days.
about making art.
no, okay, and
Mhm.
that's true. Like when you get to that production stage, I'm talking about when we're talking about those types of movies. I'm just talking about the fact that somebody's going to sit down and write this at first, because
Yeah, but they'll write it on spec. Somebody will pay some
maybe,
assistant to sit in off
maybe,
and be like, take this guideline that we've built of scenes and go and write this and bring it back to me.
maybe they will get paid for that, but they're not going to get paid the studio bucks for that. They're not. There's not a budget. There's not a production
There's a budget for that. There's absolutely a budget for that. What do you mean?
There's a budget for that, but there's not a $20 million production budget for that yet.
No, it's on spec. You know what I mean? Like it's you
Right.
have in-house staff writers that are writing treatments of stuff that you've given them. You know what I mean? You have a stack of ideas of things that you need written, and then you have your staff writers and your spec writers go in and you write those things, and then you shelf it for 6 months, and then you hire one staff writer to come in and do that thing rather than 10 staff writers that you would have back in the 90s because you can do that now. It's
Right, and
it's that
those writers-
pipeline problem we're getting back
And
into.
most writers at the initial stages are making a fraction of what they would have made if they were a part of that $20 million deal. They're in the development deal. That's a completely different deal.
Well, but the development deal at a studio stage and a development deal like in the indie world are very different. Like they're still making money. Like let's not
There's
joke
a
about the fact that like
development
somebody's
deal in
sitting
the indie
down.
world. There-
Yeah, absolutely.
of course they are. But I'm just saying, like, there's people. I see your point. I definitely see your point, and you're absolutely right in what you're saying. I'm just like talking about early initial stages, and even though Matrix is a franchise that's been highly successful before, you don't know why they're doing the 5. We don't even know if we don't know how the 5th got greenlit. So, like they may have had to go through jump over a bunch of hurdles and a bunch of shit to get the 5th one green.
I mean, but that's everything, right? That's
Right.
every movie you're ever gonna make.